Hi.
Hey, sorry, I was late. I was
All good. All
putting
good.
my son to bed.
All good. This won't take too long anyway, so.
Okay.
So, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, I'm sorry to make you come in on your day off basically, but thank you for agreeing to the interview.
That's fine.
So if you don't mind me asking, I believe you came into the project later on, like after Mad Forest made the transition from Luma Theater to Zoom.
Yes.
Awesome. And so basically, how did you come up with to design the visuals viewers will see when they stream the show?
How did I come to be the designer or
Like either or, like how did you get invested in the project? What like influences you might have, anything of that sort?
well, actually so I've worked with Ashley several times before. And we did this crazy opera together, and then that she was the assistant director on, and then I asked her to direct an opera that my company was doing. And then we did this amazing like transcultural uh, music piece last year, basically a year ago, that we toured around Appalachia, which was really cool.
What was it called, if
um,
you don't mind me asking?
it was called Mosaic Interactive,
Oh, cool.
and it was really great. It was like a bunch of musicians from um, primarily Muslim countries
Nice.
collaborating with American musicians in Appalachia, so in like little towns in rural Appalachia and stuff. So, and Ashley was directing that, and I was doing, I think my role was visual design, but I was basically doing video design. And so, anyway, then I saw on Facebook um, Bard's post about taking Mad Forest online, and I just like emailed Ashley because I had been doing web streaming stuff with my theater company, Anonymous Ensemble. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's interesting. How are you doing that? Let me know if whoever's handling that wants to like touch base with me and like just like talk about technologies and techniques and stuff. Cause I was like actively exploring that. And Ashley responded. She was like, well, I think it's like me at this point. So let me see if I can bring you onto the project. So then and then it was like happened fast. And I've worked at Bard before, so I know Caleb and Gideon, and um, I've worked with Jason Wells a lot, so they already all knew me. So it was pretty easy to just sort of hop in.
Awesome. So, like visually, like did you I don't want to say just how, but like there's so much going on with the visual effects that I'm like kind of curious like how you built everything from the ground up. Was there a lot of programs used, or was it mostly just you importing things that you've previously or using techniques that you've previously used? I
Well, I
There's
mean,
so much I don't know.
I'm a video designer, so I sort of for a long time I've sort of specialized in use of uh, live feeds like cameras and stuff. So that whole part of it comes pretty naturally to me, and I use software called Isadora to do all that. And it's funny because the video design part of this project is so secondary for me to like the figuring out the technology. Like that's the really interesting part because it's all brand new. You know, it's all we're just like for my company, we've been doing this project for a little bit where our idea was to bring in people from all over the world into like a unified web stream in a real space that we would present as a sort of live theater piece, but there was also a web stream out to the world. So we've been doing that for the past few months. And I figured out, well, we just started using Zoom. We discovered Zoom. We tried a bunch of different platforms and we are like, Zoom is the best. It's the most stable. It's like the cleanest interface. It's the most flexible. But and that's what we've been using for months, but it didn't prove to be as flexible as what we need. Like we really needed it to function like a video switching software. So where we can just like go from feed to feed to feed, which it couldn't doesn't do without you having to like drag a mouse and like do a drop down and select somebody's name and all of that stuff. So one of my students at UVA is a coder. I mean, he's like a really talented software developer, and he's worked with my company. Like my company has hired him in the past to do projects, software development kind of projects. And I was talking to him about Zoom, and he was like, "Oh, I could probably like look into modifying it." And so right before spring break, our spring break at UVA, which was a
The week
couple weeks
before Bard?
before, yeah, the week before Bard, he was like getting ready to go on spring break, and he was like, "Oh, I think I'll probably have some time. Do you want me to look at that Zoom mod?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great. Um, no pressure." Um, and then like coronavirus hit, everything shut
Yeah.
down, and all of a sudden, like a week later, I'm like, "So Andy, that Zoom mod that you were going to work on, you think we could just like ramp up production, like get it done?" And so he did, and he like really like worked,
Awesome. That's
night and
amazing.
day. And basically, what it allows us to do is to use Zoom, but to run it like video software, where we can just like switch quickly between people. Um, which is, as soon as we moved over into the new platform, Ashley realized, you know, Ashley, like she suddenly started seeing it as a filmic project, and wants those cuts. She wants it to be live edited really quickly, in the way that you would want, that we're used to, this medium being. So it became essential really fast.
So does Zoom, do Zoom and Isadora like combine into one program under this modification and then it goes out to Vimeo? Like, I'm kind of
N-
curious how we get to from the rehearsals we've been having the past couple weeks to basically what people are going to see Friday night.
no, and in fact, I mean, in the past, I've been able to use Zoom like directly into Isadora. Like there's software means to do that. Like you can siphon, you can do various ways of capturing. Recently, Apple, as of Mojave, actually maybe High Sierra, Apple's made it like incredibly hard to do that, especially anything involving cameras. Apple's like shut down any cross-platform, I think,
Yeah.
as a security measure. So I'm doing this ridiculous, what I consider to be a totally ridiculous workaround, where I am outputting Zoom to a second monitor that has a pass-through. So it's like out of my laptop, HDMI to a second monitor, which is actually useful because it also serves as a preview monitor for me. And then out of that monitor, HDMI into a digitizer, which I have like an HDMI digitizer, which goes back into my computer. So it's like literally a workaround. It's the definition of a workaround, basically. Like I'm having the signal go around outside of the computer and back into the computer to be able to process it
Okay,
in
so
Isadora.
what we see on Zoom goes into one computer and then it comes out the next computer as how people will see it on online?
No, it's all, I guess it's really complicated. So Connor is you know, in New York, on a totally separate computer, running the software that Andy wrote, like the Zoom modification that Andy wrote, and that allows us to do the switching. And so then I'm just getting that Zoom feed over the internet and have that open as another application on my computer, but that's just playing on a separate window, like a separate monitor, basically.
Okay.
So like I have a second monitor extending my desktop on my computer that's just playing the Zoom feed, but I have that feed going back into my computer. So just what that monitor is playing, going back into my computer, where I'm then digitizing it in the Isadora software and then sending that out to OBS, which is the streaming technology. If that
Okay,
makes any sense.
so we have the stream, it goes from Connor to you, and then
Yeah.
you modify it in a separate application so it can be have all the visual effects, and then it
Yeah.
goes up to stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. And I guess you have all of the video editing queued.
Yeah. So then the video software that I use, which is Isadora, is Yeah, it's a cue-based software, so it's like a whole bunch of different cues, most of which are live camera cues, taking that Zoom feed in. But it's funny because I'm getting like the whole Zoom window with like everyone's names and the chat and everything. And so I just have like it cropped out to basically what we want to see, which is the main faces. Um, and then that is just cued like I would any other theater show, basically.
Love that.
So, and that's the fun part of it, is that like both Ashley, well, you know, Vanessa, Ashley, and I, and Paul, like everybody feels like we're just using all of our theater tools. Like it's like all the same stuff that we work with. It's just like in this like kind of crazy different medium, you know?
Yeah.
So pretty
Awesome.
fun.
I guess I have one last final question then,
Yeah.
totally optional. Do you consider yourself to have been part of any revolutions? If so, would you want to discuss how they impacted your entrance into the world of Mad Forest?
Well, I mean, I feel like we're part of a revolution right now. Like I'm, you know, I feel like for a long time, I've considered the internet to be theatrical space. And so, and it's funny because I've been like writing grants and like with my own company, like we've been doing all this online stuff and trying to like pitch it to theaters and to funders as like, this is like internet as theatrical space. Like we can do everything we can do in theater. It's interactive, it's live, you know, it's like, um, you know, it's just like much more global in reach. And you know, we feel like we've just been sort of like working in this little like petri dish or something, and then all of a sudden it's the only theater that can be made, and like everybody's suddenly really interested in this new form that I think is kind of a revolution. You know, it is like it is going to change how live performance sees itself, like what we see as
Yeah.
the possibilities for live performance, you know, forever going forward. I think it's going to be a different medium.
So you consider it like part of the movement into non-traditional theater spaces. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, yeah, and it's so much more than like, you know, because I was like around, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and like I've been around like environmental theater and like immersive theater and all that stuff, and definitely like participated in all that, as did Ashley. Um, but nothing is as exciting as this is,
This
I
is
think.
something else entirely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's bringing, you know, it's coming out of those, you know, like all of those come to bear in what we're creating. But you know, because we're creating this environmental immersive virtual space, um but that's real time and interactive and like totally global and has so many possibilities.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again for talking to me, and
Sure.
I look forward